I hear from a lot of the HSPs that I work with that sex can be overstimulating. It can be too much,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's physically, because there's a lot of, it's very sensory, or
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, like the emotions just really flood in during or after sex. How do
Mm-hmm.
we work with that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really great question. Um, it really like it depends. So if you take the example of somebody with a tendency to be overstimulated, during sex, they might avoid it for that reason. I talk with a lot of people who actually have like truly have OCD.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
there's a lot of or autistic people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So autistic folks sometimes are very, very hypersensitive to certain textures, sounds,
Smells.
pressures, all those different
Yeah.
feelings, emotions, like you said. Sometimes people need to be really specific about the sensory input that they're going to experience during sex. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that your sex area, whether it's your bedroom or whatnot, is set up for you to have um, a good time. So you don't want it to be freezing in there. You don't want it to be too hot in there. Maybe make sure that you like the texture of your bed sheets. Make sure that you have lube. Lube, as a sex therapist,
Mm-hmm.
all pro lube, have lube, but
Yes.
have good lubes. So not all lubes are
Yeah.
created equal. I'm not a big
Mm-hmm.
fan of KY jelly. I won't ever be a endorser of theirs. Sorry.
Do you have a
Um,
favorite brand, just as an aside?
yeah, I really like Good Clean Love, and I
Okay.
also I someday I should get paid by them or something, but and then I also like Wicked, I think is another brand.
Yeah.
So those two
Great.
are really nice.
Right.
Lubes have come a long way. Don't even get me on a tangent about lubes. They have come a long way. There's some great lubes out there now.
Nice.
But so yeah, people are going to want to make sure that the textures that they have available to them are things that they like.
Yeah.
If your lube is tacky and if it dries out too fast, that's going to put
Yeah.
you off. If your partner is touching you in ways that you're actually not into and you're not communicating that to
Yeah.
them, that's going to put you off, right? If you're not being touched or touching yourself in a way that actually feels good, that's gonna put you off, right? Like, a
Yes.
lot of people have partnered sex very differently than they masturbate. So,
Yeah,
like,
true.
incorporating how you masturbate into your partnered sex world, sex life is really important. If you always
Mm-hmm.
get off a certain way, how you gonna get off when you're with
Right.
unless you grab that vibe, right?
Right.
So having your vibes handy, having them charged, right? Uh, having them
That's a good
clean.
point. Yeah, have them charged.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to think of other sensory things that will help.
Hmm.
Yeah, basically just like when you improve the quality of your sex,
Yeah.
the frequency might increase. It might also come nat like a little bit, I won't say naturally, but you might be a lot more willing to have sex if it's
Yep.
sex worth having.
Yes, this makes a lot of sense for me as an HSP. And there's a lot of things we can apply to like sleep setup, like make sure the room you're in or the area you're in is sensory friendly because otherwise that's taking a lot of your energy that you could then use to communicate,
Yes.
to think about what's you're enjoying, all the other
Yeah.
pieces. And also the more you have quality sex, then your brain has that association. Like, ooh, this is positive. I want more of this versus, ooh, last time I was very uncomfortable or overstimulated and I want to avoid that at all costs. So that's so
Yes.
powerful for an HSP.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And taking out the linear model completely, we talk a lot as sex therapists about this. The linear model of sex is kind of what they teach you about straight people sex in movies and stuff, where it's like, sex means penis vaginal intercourse. It always means
Right.
that. It always means that you're going to have an orgasm. It always means that you're going to have an
Yes.
erection. That's a lot of pressure on everybody. So I always say,
Yes.
take the pressure off, right? It's like
Yes.
nobody has to have an erection to have sex. Nobody has to have an orgasm to have had sex. Nobody has to
Yes.
have penetration to have had sex. So
Yes.
I don't have, whiteboard here, but whenever I'm explaining this to clients, I have a whiteboard and we do the linear model and I cross it out and I say, never have sex like this again. And then
Mm.
we do a circle. It's called the circular model of sex by Michelle, I think, Besson. I like to call it the lazy Susan of fun and pleasure. I've rebranded
Oh,
and
lazy Susan of fun and pleasure. Love it.
if you like spin a lazy Susan, you can get off of it what you want, right? So if you sit
Yes.
down to dinner and you want the vegetable dish and the starch, but you don't want the meat, you've still eaten dinner with your family.
Right.
So similarly with sex, you can take off of this lazy Susan of fun and pleasure what you want that time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe most of the time you like the meat, but you don't feel like it tonight. Okay, don't have it
Yes.
tonight. So, and then you can have sex on that circular model for 5 minutes. You can have sex in that circular model for 2 hours because circles are
Yeah.
infinite. So
Mhm.
if you're ever at any point saying, I'm done, like this isn't working for
Yeah.
me, and I want to go have a ham and cheese sandwich, like go do it. There's
Yeah.
no harm, no foul. So I think a lot of people just inflate their expectations of sex and their definitions of sex, and they think it's on this pedestal and you got to get there, otherwise you failed. It's a performance, and all
Yes.
that is total like garbage. It's not
Yes.
about pleasure, it's not about play. Certainly not
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that permission that sex gets to be whatever you want it to be. It can go in whatever order you want it to. You can have whatever outcome you want it to. You can do it as long or as little as you want to. You don't have to fit that mold, which is what we're trying to
flex.
always learn as sensitive or neurodivergent people. Like we can break out of the mold.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. I find that
Uh,
that linear versus circular model is the
hmm.
number one most effective intervention to help my clients have great sex, like always help them. So